some of you are at least there on the Zoom call. And I think the webinar has also started. Okay, so I will go ahead and start sharing my screen. Here, we'll go ahead and get started here. Okay. I will just get situated my screens and my monitors, just align them, and then we'll get started. Okay, so welcome to the information session, everyone. My name is Raj Iqbal. I'm one of the lead instructors and a chief data scientist at Data Science Dojo. And what we will go over today is the general curriculum, the intent, who should attend the boot camp, what do we teach at the boot camp, and what you will be able to do after the boot camp, and then also answer any questions. I will try my best to actually answer questions around some open-ended questions that are relevant to the bootcamp, but sometimes the questions can be around, well, how do I build a career in data science? While I would love to actually talk about that, sometimes the questions can be so open-ended that I will not be able to answer in the interest of time. And in some cases, well, it might be difficult, completely difficult altogether to really for me to give a very clear answer to things. But we'll do our best. We'll do the best we can to answer any questions. So a bit about us. We are one of the oldest companies in this space in AI and machine learning and analytics space. And I have to actually say that one of the most respected companies in terms of customer trust, right? So more than 11,000 graduates. This is 11,000 people who have actually attended one of our in-person, physically co-located or virtual programs post-COVID. And then more than 3,000 companies globally. And, some of you who are watching, or many of you, I'm pretty confident that someone from your company has at some point attended one of our programs. So we have a fairly big global footprint. In terms of the boot camp, why this boot camp? We happen to be the only the boot camp in the world at the moment, right? So there is no other boot camp as far as I know. I mean, definitely some other trainings can be called boot camps, but boot camp to my definition of a boot camp is that it has to be complete. It has to cover the entire stack of whatever we are teaching, whether it is data science or large language models. And in addition to that, there is this theory and practice component, and the comprehensiveness, theory and practice, and really in a condensed manner. Yes, you can actually take one course here, one course there, and then combine all of that. That's possible. But what we do here is within 5 days, you come in, you enter the program, and leave with the ability to actually build LLM application. So that's where we are coming from. So the use cases of large language models, they are emerging as we see. Right now companies, they are trying to figure out how to build these applications and so on. Building these applications, interesting. Megan, you only see a blank screen. That is interesting. So let me reshare my screen. Thank you for pointing this out, Megan. I will stop sharing and reshare. And let me do it. Maybe I can move my screen to a different screen. Okay, here. Sorry about that. I did not realize, because my own Zoom widget, it is showing, I can see it myself, but I don't know if it was only for you, Megan, or other people are experiencing the same problem. Okay. I am going to now reshare my screen here. And some of you who are on the Zoom call, if you can confirm that you can see it. Okay. And is the screen visible? Okay. Thank you so much for confirming. Okay. So when you start building these applications, we are there are some real challenges. There are some challenges that happen. Some challenges how do you manage the token costs? What are the limits in terms of context windows, right? Whether you should use a bigger context window model or smaller context model. There are regulatory challenges. Your company can actually get in trouble. A few weeks back, Air Canada, they ran into this or ended up with a legal situation where one of their bots offered um, bereavement fare to a customer. The customer came back and tried to claim that bereavement fare discount, only to be told, "Hey, I mean, we did not tell it, but your bot did." And then court ruled in favor of the customer. So, how do you handle all of those regulatory issues? Um, when we talk about enterprise applications, when you talk about enterprise LLM applications, we no longer are talking about that a single page, PDF that you are doing this as a hobby project. We are actually talking about some serious application. Um, um, okay, Megan, you cannot see the screen again. So can others see my screen, Megan? Megan, it could be an issue on your side, or it could be. Can others see my screen right now? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So Megan, you may want to maybe disconnect and rejoin. Possibly it is an issue on your side. Thanks for confirming, Ahmed and Arman. Okay, I will get back to this. So there are actually challenges around regulatory requirements. You're a healthcare bot, and you cannot give medical advice. You are a legal bot, and you cannot give legal advice. And to what are the extents? So if I keep going, maybe what kind of bot are you deploying? Does it have to respond very quickly, or it can wait when it responds, right? So are there any data and AI governance issues? Will you be using open source models or closed source model? Open source being most notably a Llama series of models, and closed sourced OpenAI and Google, some of the Google models being um, one of the notable ones. Then there is this lack of reproducibility, even if you ask the same question, because of the nature of these technologies, uh, your answers may or may not be the same. Hallucination, whatever that means, and that is a problem. Knowledge is moving. How do you evaluate a model? There are so many issues, and when you start building the models, you realize, well, using Chat GPT is easy, but using or building an LLM application that your customers are going to be happy with, any application that is going to keep the cost low, any application that is going to deal with regulatory challenges and keep your proprietary data safe and keep the customers happy about how quickly it is responding, keep your costs under control. It won't hallucinate, or maybe if it hallucinates, I mean, there's a way to detect hallucination. You will be able to evaluate whether the model is doing well or not. It won't be very brittle to any changes in the prompt. It is tough. All of that is actually quite tough. So the bootcamp actually, the Large Language Models Bootcamp by Data Science Dojo, it is going to teach you how to build LLM applications on enterprise data. And once again, sometimes, even during interviews, right? So when you're interviewing data scientists, yeah, what's the big deal? I mean, I built that in an hour. Yes, you can build an LLM application in an hour, cloning a Git repository from somewhere. But what if I asked you, would you be comfortable? It's a medical bot. Would you be comfortable actually giving it to your loved one to make decisions about their health? Or would you be comfortable deploying it as a legal advisor for your own company? Would you be comfortable actually as a customer using this? And suddenly the answers change. So what we do is we have a curriculum that has been designed by practitioners. I'm one of the instructors for the bootcamp. I will show you other instructors as well. And I have been working in machine learning for last, close to 20 years now. And then we yeah, and as a company, we have a product that we have built, and we have Fortune 500 companies, big companies who are actually consuming that product. So you will actually hear from us and other instructors who are not just instructors and presenters of slides. You will actually hear from people who are actually building these systems. Okay. We cover most of the mainstream LN tools and libraries and packages. I will explain what that means. Um, and hands-on exercises, um, maybe an hour or 2 hours of presentation, followed by an hour or 2 hours of practical exercises. And on the last day of the training, the fifth day, it's a 5-day training, 8 hours a day, fairly intense. There is a comprehensive project with mentoring and support. So you will leave with a deployed URL of your own application. So that is the plan. And right now we are offering the class in both formats. Some people, they show up at Data Science Dojo in Seattle, and others, they attend this class remotely. So far, we have had people from all over the world, as far as Australia, people from Middle East. Some people attend remotely. Many people, they decide to travel. We have had people from India, France, UK, South America, and different. So we have the audience is geographically distributed. Many people actually decide to travel to Seattle to attend the boot camp. So what does the boot camp include? We want it to be a very complete experience. So we do not want you to come in, hey, my laptop cannot install this package. Hey, how do I actually sign up? And my credit card is not working on to get this GPU cluster, right? So when you register, any API keys, any LLM tokens that are going to be consumed, any GPU clusters, any infrastructure that you need during the bootcamp, we provide that. In some cases, we take the cost. In some cases, our partners, they provide the cost. VV8 is our partner for vector databases. So you will, when we do vector database exercises, you will be getting a VV8 server where you do all the exercises. Then Symbol AI, Union is there, Arise is there, RunPod and Langchain, Serrano Academy, all of them. RunPod actually provides us GPU clusters. Everyone gets a certain amount of credit when we go and fine tune a Llama 2 model on custom data set. So for the hands-on exercise, so we take care of all the costs associated with any compute, any services, any software. So that is included. And we have partnered with some of the top companies in this space for the upcoming Seattle Bootcamp. So far, we have these partners. I mean, this list may change. And we have other partners who have been involved with us. They have been very kind to actually provide, either instructors or infrastructure support to us. So the curriculum, as I pointed out, it is much more than just theory. It is. We also talk about the business aspect. We also talk about the regulatory or IP or PII type issues. We have guest speakers who bring in. Will it would be they will be bringing some perspective from industry about adoption. So the talks can be real case studies. It could be from ranging from purely business and cultural challenges that you may run into when you're building a large language model application, or it could be purely technical, right? So the different kind of issues, we balance them, and then. There is a question that was posted here from YouTube. Will there be hands-on product and projects in this bootcamp? Yes. I mean, I'm about to show you, but there are going to be what differentiates this training is the completeness of the training. Let me actually show you one picture here, and then I will go back. But yes, the short answer is yes, there will be a final project to build an LLM application, a complete end-to-end application, and deploy it. And then there will also be, exercises on vector databases, then exercises on Langchain, exercises on embeddings, and exercises on observability and guardrails, then exercises on fine-tuning, and so on. And I will show you those exercises in just a moment. So if you look at this, somewhat of a outdated version of what the LLM system might look like. I need to work on these slides. So at the core of it, when we go and log into ChatGPT, most of us are only exposed to an ChatGPT like application. But when you build an enterprise application, the ecosystem is going to be much more involved. So at the core of these applications is some kind of open source or closed source large language model, whether you have deployed it locally, you're self-hosting, or you're calling the API. You can actually self-host some open source model like Llama 2, Llama 3, or you can use an API like Google Gemini, or you can use an API like OpenAI, GPT-4, or GPT-4 Omni. Then in addition to that, you need a vector database. And vector database, why do you need it? Just like a SQL database, you need a vector database. And what is a vector database? Think of that as, where you store the embeddings of your vectors or embeddings of your documents. So you need a vector database. And then, before you put anything in the vector database, you have to convert them to embeddings. So we'll talk about, at length, we will talk about embeddings, we'll talk about vector databases. And at this point, I can see maybe some level of discomfort. Hey, I do not have the math background. I do not have the programming background. I'm not a CS major. Will I be able to understand it? Absolutely. And I will show you how. And I think the question actually popped up right here. What is the level of codes, scripting and SQL knowledge is required for the bootcamp? If you can read Python code, let me actually phrase or maybe scope the question. If you're not a coder before you came to the training, can you finish the bootcamp successfully? Yes. But my assumption is if you're not a coder before the training, you don't expect the bootcamp to turn you into a dev professional, because that's not the intent. You will remain whoever you are. If you're a product person, when you come in, you will be an LLM products person. If you are a dev, a decent dev who comes in, you will become you will know how to implement these things. So we'll give you code samples. I will show you the entire ecosystem in a moment after this infographic is done. So if you know some basic programming, you will be fine. We can take care of the rest of the things. And maybe it is hard to believe, but when you see how we have structured it, you will understand why I'm making this claim. Can I work on my own project as a capstone? It is very hard. I mean, so if you look at this, yes, you can. But if you expect us to support on that project, so this is your own project. and if you bring into the boot camp, and last day is allocated, last half a day for 4-ish hours, they are dedicated to the capstone. In 4 hours, it depends upon how ambitious your project is, right? So because we are just here to actually enable you, show you how to build things, but your own project without knowing if you want to build your startup at the bootcamp, that's not going to happen, right? So I mean, that's yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can. I mean, you can bring in and your own data and build it, but we don't know what data it is and what idea it is, right? So I mean, I'm a straight shooter. I mean, so I'm going to actually. So I will not actually beat around the bush to get you to sign up, right? But the project that we do, I'm very, very confident when you go back, you will be able to build things around it. I mean, I can vouch for that, but I cannot guarantee that if you bring in your own data and you have your own idea, we will be able to help you actually get up and running during the bootcamp, because I don't know the data, I don't know the problem, how properly structured the problem is. But um, can we help? Yeah, sure, we can help. Can we guarantee? No, we cannot. So I hope that answers the question. Okay. Uh, um, so you will learn about vector databases and in general what we call the RAG, retrieval augmented generation pipeline. Uh, then embeddings of models. We have a very, very detailed session on Langchain. Langchain about 4 to 6 hours. You will be a I would say a fairly knowledgeable user of Langchain by the end of these 6 to 8 hours, because we have a very comprehensive model there. Then it's not only about building applications, it is also about building performant and safe applications, right? So from a performance standpoint, we'll talk about semantic caching. We'll also talk about safety, right? So and logging and monitoring and operation and deployment of models. So to that, and guardrails, right? So how do you stop your model from doing things that it should not be doing, and so on. uh, how do you validate the model? So I can keep going, but you should get a fairly good idea. I will move to the hands-on component. I will show you how the learning platform is structured. But the idea is to give you a little bit of, not a little bit, actually, fairly detailed practice of theory and practice of vector database, theory and practice of embeddings, and theory and practice of Langchains, and theory and practice of fine tuning and monitoring and RAG and all of that. And to on the last day, combine all of this, put it together, and you build an application and deploy it on Streamlit. Okay. And why Streamlit? Because at the end of the day, we want this to be approachable to everyone. If you're not a web developer by training, this course is not about web development. We cannot teach you web development. Streamlit is a very easy to use tool. Devs, of course, can use it very easily. Those who do not are not devs, even they can deploy applications Streamlit. So it helps us focus on the core concepts, as opposed to the finer details and the nuances of coding and web development. I mean, because that's not the intent of the course. The course is, well, if you're a developer, you have code samples, you have, we'll give you the same thing. If you're a product guy, you will be looking at, if you're a product person, you'll be looking at it from a product standpoint. If you are a hardcore dev, you will be looking at it as a dev. And we'll look at it. Let me actually go and show it to you. This is our learning platform. And let me actually see, there is one more question here. Is this bootcamp intended for recent graduates? This bootcamp is intended for anyone who wants to learn how to build enterprise LLM applications. You could be a recent graduate. We have had people who recently graduated. We have had people who were product managers, did not know coding. They attended it. We have had amazing, awesome coders. They attended the bootcamp. They loved it. So it depends upon what your intent is. The goal is to enable you, empower you, give you the right resources and the right foundation. And then you go back and build whatever you want to build. And Charles, is this boot camp on site in Seattle or is it virtual? It is both, actually. So the way it works is that we have in our training room, we have attendees. Many attendees are in person, sitting, around, and then there we have some people who are attending remotely. So it's a mix of remote and in-person attendees, and it has actually worked out far better than we had expected because our conferencing equipment is that anytime someone is speaking, the focus shifts on them, so you can see them who's speaking, even the classroom, right? So we have this advanced conferencing equipment, so it's fairly interactive. Uh, um, Fairly interactive. Online attendees in many cases, in one of the boot camps, actually, the online attendees were actually very, very active, to the point that some of them were far more active than some of the in-person attendees. So it's a very interactive environment. Is it better to attend in person or so you will not have any setup issues? And I will tell you. And better is subjective. If you're talking about in terms of setup issues, I don't foresee any setup issues. It really depends upon your personal choice and your budget, because when you're traveling, of course, you have to allocate some budget for actually staying in Seattle and traveling to Seattle. So that would be there. But otherwise, in terms of the quality, the content, the experience, pretty much seems to be the same, except of course those hallway conversations and lunch and coffee conversations that you would have during breaks with each other. Of course, online, sometimes online attendees also, I mean, since the cameras are on, people walking by talking to each other, so they are part of it. But there is that human component that may be a small difference. But other than that, in terms of learning, in terms of the content, the experience, the friction, it is about the same. So we have it has varied, but for the large language models bootcamp, the average size of the class has been around in person. Uh, when we were purely in person, we had 22 people. I think that's average was around 20. And then online, anywhere it ranges from 10 to 15. So um, that's roughly where we are. Right? So maybe around, think of it around 15-ish on either side, 15, 16 on online, and maybe 10 to 15. So 15 to 15-ish in person, and then about the same 10 to 15 online. Okay. So I will hold a pause button on the questions because I do not want to. So please feel free to keep those questions coming. But what I am going to do here is I'm going to actually go to the learning platform. The way it works is uh, all we expect you to know is a basic working understanding of Python. So uh, if you can write Python code, wonderful, that's great. But if you can understand Python code by reading it, that's okay too. But keep in mind, we are not going to be able to actually, if you have only reading coding ability, and then after the boot camp, you will not be able to build LLM applications end to end from scratch. I'm assuming that if you're a product manager, you are some kind of manager, you're a program manager who wants to learn and understand the ecosystem. You'll understand it very well, but then you will have to actually have a team of devs who will implement this. But if you're a dev already, I'm very confident that you will be able to build applications. So you will get what you want out of it, but we are not going to magically, there is not going to be some kind of, transformation in a week that, you come out of this as a rockstar coder. That's not the intent of the bootcamp, very clearly. We have a 2-hour basic Python tutorial covering some concepts that we will encourage you to watch before you come in. Other than that, everything else will take care of it. Now, we will start with embeddings. Embeddings are the basic unit, the most important thing in this whole understanding of, the semantic understanding of speech or language. So we will first start with embeddings and attention mechanism and transformer architecture, and then we are going to have these labs around attention mechanism. Let me see, for instance, right? And the way these work is you're going to go and click on these labs, and these labs they will open up like this, and you have these labs, and you run these labs. Then once we have gone through the idea of embeddings, and let me show you, let me drill, go inside of one of the modules. So let's say once you understood embeddings, now what do you do after embeddings? You are going to actually store these embeddings in a vector database. Well, what is a vector database? So we are going to we are going to actually tell you what is a vector database in at length. How is it different from a traditional database? What does a vector database query look like? This is real material that I'm showing you from the bootcamp. So we explain to you how does a vector database do search? How does it index things? How does a search work? I mean, what is hierarchical, this indexing and organization of the material? So we talk about this in quite a lot of detail. You will see that this is a very, very detailed material. But once we have done this, we are not just going to leave you with the theory part of it. We are going to actually ask you, now that you know vector databases, how do you perform a vector search? And then you will click on this lab, and you'll notice that I clicked here, this lab popped up. Why are we doing it this way? Well, if you are very savvy and if you have your own local Python environment set up, and you don't expect that you will be running into issues like resolving any package dependencies, and your IT allows you to install all the packages, and there is so many things that could go wrong. And what we have done is we have created this dedicated compute and storage. Everyone gets their own small space in our learning platform. So all of you have your own versions of these, and you can modify if you like. And now if you look at this, we are going to give you these setup labs will give you this URLs. There is a vector database that is already deployed there, and then we will walk you through the exercises here, right? So explaining, hey, what do you think this is happening? And this is where this is what I meant. You should have the ability to actually understand the code, even if you cannot write code from scratch. That's okay. If you look at this, we are showing you near vector example and near object example. Now that you're done, then we actually go to the next lab, which is a similarity search. This whole module is about 4 to 5 hours, including theory. Again, you connect to VV8, you create a collection, you import the data, near text example. And if you look at this, so how do you search for this query? And then it is returning the related objects, and you also see the embeddings and all of that. And then this is done. Then hybrid. Now you're combining keyword and vector search. And keyword and your semantic search, right? So you're combining both of them. Then you have generative search, and then you have multi-tenancy, and then you have vector compression, right? How do you compress these vectors? You can expect them to have hundreds of millions of vectors potentially for a non-trivial scenario. Then how do you actually do product or vector quantization? So if you look at this, we are not dwelling on theory only, and we are not also just going and mindlessly running code samples. We are first setting the context, explaining to you all the issues that surround building or storing embeddings in a vector database. And then we actually walk you through all the exercises, so it's completely ingrained in your mind. I mean, how is this whole thing done? And now after that, how do you do semantic search, and how do you build a RAG pipeline? And then now embeddings, and now vector databases. So what is RAG and what is retrieval augmented generation? Then we talk about prompt engineering and fine tuning of models. When we do fine tuning of models, we explain to you what fine tuning is and how is it different from RAG. What is transfer learning? I'm trying to remember very quickly here. What is low rank adaptation? What is quantization? Some of these are very mathematical topics, very deeply mathematical topics, but we will explain to you in a manner so you understand what it is. And then we show you how to fine tune the Llama 2 7 billion parameter model and compare it against an unfine tuned model, for the lack of a better word, right? So we will show you how a fine-tuned model is performing and how a model without fine-tuning is performing. So you first went through fine-tuning, transfer learning, quantization, low-rank adaptation, all of that, and then you apply all of these principles. Then we talk about Langchain. Langchain is a fairly big module, such a big module that we have a complete separate course for it here. Let me show it to you. So let's say we are going to Langchain here. And when I go to Langchain, let me see, is it opening? Yes. So when I go to Langchain, um, in Langchain, we are going to talk about, all the major components of Langchain, starting from model I/O, retrieval chains, memory, agents, how do you build multi-agent systems, and LangGraph, which is something more recent. I will give a very high-level idea what each of these are. So let's say when I go into model I/O, how do you connect? How do you connect? How do you create templates for different prompts? Because you don't expect your users to be giving fixed prompts every time in the UI. So we start with this. You can see that there is this, prompting exercise here. So we'll go for prompting, and how do you give a few short examples? How do you give it different types of models, different models? How a retrieval is, how do you connect it to different data sources? You can see that there are different kind of data sources, different kind of parsers. Is your data in CSV format? Is it in JSON format? Is it Excel? Is it sitting in a URL? Is it sitting in a SharePoint folder? So we have exercises for different kind of parsers and retrievers, and all of these exercises are going to be done in class. So this is not something that that will be, hey, go and do it yourself. You can see that we are taking some piece of text here, and we are chunking it. If you can see, basically, and we are changing the chunk sizes, chunk overlaps, and you can see by changing these parameters, you can see how these are changing. So fairly hands-on. Once again, even if you don't know coding, you know what chunk size would mean, what overlap would mean, and you're a product person, right? So you're a product manager, and now when you go back, you will be able to understand what your devs are talking about and what your direct reports. You're maybe a dev manager. You're not writing code anymore, or whatever your scenario is. Maybe you're a founder who's working on a Gen AI or LLM startup. You can still actually carry out the discussion. You can still guide the product, knowing what are the limitations, without even knowing how to write code. And these all of this content is accessible to you for 1 year from the date of the bootcamp. So you have plenty of time to actually play around and learn. You can download code samples as well, right? So we don't stop you. I mean, if you want to run it locally, you can download code samples, run it locally if you prefer. Then after that, I mean, we'll go through chains. If you look at chains here, right? So what are chains? Chains is this idea that you are basically the you are asking a question that in connection to the or maybe you want your question to be broken into multiple pieces. Maybe I should show an example how these labs are run actually in the UI. Let me actually go here and I will copy my API key. So all of you will be getting your own, all of you will be getting API keys. So you are able to actually, so you're able to run this code sample. So I just copied and pasted an API key. And how is it running now? It is saying, there is, your job is to come up with a classic dish from the area that the user suggests. And there is this prompt template. I run it. And then there is the second part of the chain is now based on this dish that was recommended, recommend a recipe. And then after that, given the meal, suggest a dessert that goes with it. And then if you look at this, now we are running these one by one. And, I think this is from my last training. I don't know where everyone is based. So let's say Seattle, right? So I will just put in Seattle here. So when I run it for Seattle, it is overall chain is not defined. Did I not run it? I'm sorry. Real-time, real-world demos. Okay, it worked. I think I did not run that cell. So if you look at this, and I know some questions are coming up. I will answer the questions to avoid any distraction here. So one classic dish from Seattle area is the clam chowder, right? So, and now clam chowder. And the next thing is, what is the recipe for clam chowder? And after that, what is a good dessert that goes with it, right? So you can see that it is giving me all of that. So very practical, very relevant. If you look at this, it is giving us all the options. And I think during I think my last one, I think it was Mars. I think that's what I did. And these models also happen to have a good sense of humor. So it says Martian red rocks too, and all of that, right? So you can see that. And then we talk about the router chain and all of that. So you get the idea. Once again, do you need to be a coder for this? I don't think so. I mean, so you can actually, because the code is already structured and you're being guided to actually go through the code. But will you be able to write code from scratch after this? Well, it depends upon your pre-existing coding ability. So in addition to all of this that I've mentioned, we will also heavily emphasize on evaluation. So we talk about your traditional evaluation metrics like more machine translation metrics like Rouge score and Blue score. And then we slowly go toward more semantic evaluation techniques like BERT score. And one approach that we take is we don't directly show you the shiniest thing. It's almost, I mean, sometimes what happens is that if you directly focus on the shiniest things, you don't have that appreciation and understanding of how this evolved, right? So sometimes going through, poverty and then reaching that affluence, it makes you a wiser person. I mean, then there is this analogy that I would like to use here, right? So we show you some of the less than perfect way of evaluation. And in most cases, we'll show you first, we'll start with the less than perfect way of doing things and then move all the way to a better way of doing things. So we start with non-semantic evaluation approaches. And once again, anything that I'm telling you, assume that it has a practical component, right? If you look at this, evaluate RAG with LLM evals, right? So Langchain email extraction. So if you look at this, so we will start with, we have a lab. We'll start with the very basic techniques and then move on to some of the more sophisticated techniques that to the point that there is something called RAGAS, which is an evaluation framework. Also, we'll dive into RAGAS as well. And then we'll also one model evaluating the output for another model and all of that, right? Something around GPD. Well, we'll talk about deployment. We have uh, sessions on guardrails and monitoring your model. And on the last day, we'll give you instructions for building your own project, and then we'll help you, deploy an LLM application. So let me go here. This is at a very high level, the technology stack that roughly, in this um, realm, different areas, we have this technology stack that we use, give and take. We use all of this. I've gone through all of this curriculum already. Let me see. And so these are the expected instructors because it's very hard to get on the schedules of all of these people. I mean, organizing this bootcamp is actually quite a bit of challenge. So, but well, here we are. I mean, this was our set of instructors in the previous bootcamp, and our partners, they love us. They have been actually very kind, generous with, providing all the support that they can. And our customers also love us. And believe me or not, already, people are traveling all the way from as far as I mentioned earlier as well, Australia, right? So from India, people have traveled from India to attend. You don't have to travel, but I'm mentioning, right? So these are only some of the companies who have attended because we are unable to actually keep this slide updated. The next bootcamp is happening in Seattle, October 21st to 25th, and we would love to have you at the bootcamp. Let me actually go back and start taking questions. And going backward. So Manish, your question, let me see. Manish, your question was, what training assets can I take away with me? So Manish, all of these are yours as long as our intellectual property is respected. Many of these are resources that are open source. If there is anything that is open source, feel free to use it. But if you plan to monetize on it, that is again going to be against term of service. If you just say, starting tomorrow, you're starting a company called Data Science Mojo, right? So that's not cool. But anything else, it is yours. We are pretty cool with actually, do whatever you want to do with the material. That's okay. It is there. We are pretty happy with providing resources, letting people retain access. We don't have a problem with that. And we want this spirit to be reciprocated by everyone. Okay. I hope this answers the question, Manish. So it is yours, right? So you can keep it as long as there's no commercial repurposing of our content. Do we match the techniques to the specific elements of a task, meaning decomposing a task and matching it to the technique needed? Yeah, we try to do it. So when we talk about RAG, right? So RAG has different components, and we have a lot of once again, so when a course is done by practitioners, right? So then we will actually be involved in like very, very nuanced discussions, and I love teaching it because people bring in, hey Raja, how will you do this? And then suddenly you're scratching your head. Yeah, that's a very valid question, right? Let me actually give you an idea that we are going to actually look at all of these minor points for sure. In the greatest detail possible. So I'm showing you one of the modules that I don't think I mentioned, right? So on around end of day 4, early day 5, we will have this session. How do you build high performance RAG pipelines? They're not a single page or 10-page PDF. They are not just 10 files or 20 files. You're talking about 500,000 files with complex formats, native image, native PDFs or image type PDFs or doc. RAG is for retrieval augmented generation. So, and you will know very well by the end of first day, you will know very well what RAG is. So, and so, we'll say this is the RAG pipeline, and then we'll talk about, well, where are some of the problems that can happen? Or problems can happen: data ingestion, retrieval, response, and query pre-retrieval. So, and then we talk about all sorts of issues, right? So, data pre-processing and chunking and embeddings and vector database, there can be problems. And it may sound something less approachable to you. But by this time, after that 4 days of learning, people are actually, they have very strong opinions and very, this session, I've never been able to finish this. I plan around 2 hours for this. I'm unable to finish this in 2 hours because there's so many things and so many curveballs that are thrown at me. What about this and what about that, right? So because there is the field is still evolving. There is no textbook. Things are changing very quickly. So we bring in a lot of different ideas, right? So what is the right strategy for chunking? Which embedding model? Should you fine tune the embedding model or not? How do you scale your application? What do you do with querying? And we talk about query optimization. We talk about, multi-step retrieval and query rewriting and query alteration and fine-tuning the model that does query alteration. So we talk about a lot of practical issues in here, and this is not just this slide and this slide and this slide. Sometimes a slide may take 10-15 minutes just on a slide, and you are now discussing you're almost visualizing what may be happening in the RAG pipeline. So let me come back. I mean, because I think I started from the bottom, so I'm stuck in the questions that were asked later. I will come back to the later questions. If I can't join the complete meeting, will the bootcamp be recorded and viewed later? Yes, Ling. It is entirely possible to do it. However, because sessions are long and when they're recorded as some kind of post-processing, they may not be available immediately within the next 1 hour, 2 hours, right? Because sessions are long. I mean, it's an 8-hour long day. So if you miss some session, it usually becomes available the next morning, not because of anything that on our side, there is some post-processing that needs to be done. And we have no control over that laws of physics. Ahmed, your question is there any pre-bootcamp material that we can review to prepare for sessions, Python coding, etc.? Yeah, I mean, definitely we have these pre-bootcamp material that is there. But if you are comfortable with very basic Python, we will teach you everything else there. And there is a question by Sayed. Can someone with Fox Pro programming experience can learn it? It's a difficult question. I've never done Fox Pro programming. But I mean, I see. I mean, if it is programming, if you told me, I mean, you have coded in VBA or maybe Pascal or Fortran programming. So yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, it can be done. It really depends upon your problem-solving skills, and set up a time with us. And we would never tell you, and I hope that has been the case so far. We would never tell you if we think that you will not be able to do it, and we think that whatever you're trying to achieve, the bootcamp does not align with it. We'll let you know right away. I mean, I think life has more to offer than deceiving people into attending a bootcamp and make a few. Some money from them, right? So we'll give you honest advice, right? So because we have enough people who are already attending, would love to help you, right? So just let us know. Okay. Will the bot be developed work similar to Chat GPT, meaning it will respond to natural language? Yeah, absolutely, right? So it will respond to, but it is going to be much more than Chat GPT, because what we are showing you is it is your own bot. You will upload your document. and you can ask questions about that document. You will give it a URL. You can customize the prompt. Maybe you added some chains. So think of this as something that is your own, something that is your that um, you can customize. So you're programmatically customizing. We also show you other things in your bot. I think I did not mention it when I was talking about Langchain. So, for instance, agents, right? What if you want to give your own chatbot some agentic functionality? How do you get the agentic functionality? How do you, if you want to, while you answer the question, before your LLM answers the question, you want it to go and fetch data from an API, or you want it to perform a web search, or you want it to perform a weather search, right? For instance, if I go and ask um, an LLM, not ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT has already built it. But LLMs, their knowledge and their view of the world is frozen at the time when they were built. So how do we go and how do we go and make our applications more aware of what is happening in the present, right? So you may want to have some kind of tool, as we call it, tools and agents. So you may want to have a search tool or some kind of programmatic API tool embedded and integrated into it. So there is a bunch of different things that are possible. And of course, in this 1 hour, it is very hard to encompass. But the point here is to actually give you this sense that it is we have this has been built by the curriculum has been built by the people. I'm one of the contributors, but I mean a bulk of work has been done by the amazing data science team behind the scenes who are actually building these products. And they would run into these issues. I mean, maybe I can give you an idea, right? So we have a product someone is using, not someone, some companies are using. And now we thought we have built something very scalable. And then one fine morning, a customer comes in here and says, yeah, I uploaded documents and some of the documents are not being indexed, right? So, well, how many documents did you upload? 80,000 documents in one go. Well, okay. And then we went back and tried to fix it, right? So these kind of issues, these kind of practical insights, yes, I mean, you can learn from, conference papers or, a few presentations here and there. But when the people who are talking to you, they have built things themselves, they have either run into many of those issues, and if they have not, they will be able to appreciate the question and give you a response. And if they don't know, they will let you know, because they don't have anything to worry about. Hey, they don't have anything to prove, because well, I mean, we don't know everything, right? So I think that is there. I think the last question is, what is the cost of the boot camp? The cost of the boot camp, you can please take a look on the website, because I don't want to misquote the cost. I mean, if you look at maybe someone from my team can actually post a link to the webpage on different, in Zoom, and also on across different social media. But I mean, check it out. The full price of the bootcamp is $5,000, but depending upon how early you register, whether there's a group discount or not, the cost varies. If you are a Data Science Dojo alumni, please do not register on the website. We have a discount for anyone who's a returning customer, and we have a substantial discount for those people. So please do not register on the website if you are already a Data Science Dojo customer, which actually, interestingly, 30 to 40% of the attendees are returning customers who attended our data science bootcamp a while back, and they know the quality that we deliver to our customers. And if you would like to know anything about the bootcamp, just set up a call. I see that we have posted links to how to set up an advisor call, and we would love to help you. And in our calls, we call them more of so usually we don't use any heavy-handed sales tactics, right? So we really go with the intent that we are going to help you, and in many cases we'll tell you, yeah, maybe you should just go and do this. If you're trying to do this, maybe this bootcamp is not for you, and in some cases we'll tell you that yes, this bootcamp is for you. So just set up a call. Would love to help you out. And if there are any other questions, please uh, feel free to. Otherwise, we'll call it a day. Sounds good. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm looking forward to seeing at least some of you at the bootcamp. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Ahmed. And we need to connect.